peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Good morning, viewers. Thank you very much for watching Punchline Africa Television, broadcasting all the way from the Republic of Kenya. In Nairobi is Miriam Ogutu, the general headquarters of Punchline Africa Television. Good morning, Miriam.
Doctor, very good morning to you, and indeed good morning to our viewers wherever they're watching us from.
Thank you very much. All my panel is seated is right in Nairobi. Thank you very much, Joseph Nyachama, Dr. Joseph Nyachama. Good morning.
Morning, Dr. Masanga, Miriam, Ilimi, and Tawish.
Thank you very much. Douglas Kirimi, good morning. I know the network is disturbing you. Good morning. Let's cross over to Tawish in Narok, in Kenya. Good morning.
Good morning to you, Dr. David Masanga, Miriam Ogutu, Dr. Nyanchama, and of course, Douglas Bundi-Kirimi. It's indeed a great honor to be part of this program this morning, the Diplomatic Leaks. Good morning, Dr. Masanga.
Thank you very much, viewers, wherever you are in Africa. This is a great show for Africa. Diplomatic Leaks goes back behind the diplomats, behind the diplomatic agents that run Africa, that police Africa, that are not able to arrest one American, that are not able to arrest anybody who committed any crime in Afghanistan, that are not able to take anybody who committed a crime in Iraq, but they are very busy looking for Africa. So we look out for why Africa? Why is Africa a soft spot for the things that are happening? The International Criminal Court is back again. On the continent of Africa, it is doing something. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen on the panel, I would like Miriam to go through some weather, the weather forecast. Is it the weather forecast? That's how we should enjoy our show today. It's going to be massive. Get a pen, sit down, and listen from the expert himself. I'm here. A man, the only man in sub-Saharan Africa who has stood up, opposed the ICC. And I want to make my position very clear that Mr. Karim Khan, on this one, on Mr. Bashir, I am going to oppose you up to my grave. And I want to thank you very much for coming on board. Don't cross my line because I can cross it. I've been waiting for this. It's not going to be rosy. It's not going to be rosy to just pick up a man and take him. Some of us who worked so hard to bring peace in Darfur are not going to sit and watch. Mr. Karim Khan, Chief Prosecutor, take that warning shot. We are going to work hard. We are going to expose the weaknesses, the procurement of weaknesses, the airlifting of weaknesses from Jamena, from Khartoum to Jamena to Cairo to Nairobi to where we know what happened. The corruption underneath Bashir's case. We must bring it on top. And we are not going to keep quiet. The people cannot run away from the responsibility that this case, yes, Several things happened. Yes, people died in Darfur. Yes, we restored peace in Darfur. Karim, when I was walking with Thabo Mbeki, you were not there. You were not anywhere anyway. So, you know the peace has returned in Darfur. Why do you airlift a man to do what? Why don't you arrest one American? They have left the Taliban slaughtering people in Afghanistan. What a shame. And you call yourself a chief prosecutor looking for Africans. Why don't you arrest one American? Why don't you pursue the case that Mr. Madame Fatou Bensouda pursued on Afghanistan? Why are you coming to Africa to raise your PR? We shall have, this court is open for everybody. We have not committed any crime. We simply became whistleblowers. And I told you there was a corruption underneath. Some people erased all the information. Thank you very much, Miriam, in Nairobi. Take us through the weather. The weather in Accra is 25 degrees Celsius. Woohoo! 25 degrees Celsius. Partly cloud, some rainfall falling somewhere in Accra where Kwame Nkrumah's body is lying. It is Kwame Nkrumah who gives me the inspiration. The medium, every morning that you start this show, check on the weather of Accra. It's my center point. Thank you. Over to Miriam for the weather.
All right, and I'll bring us the weather for Khartoum because soon we'll be looking at an issue related to Sudan, and it is partly cloudy with 28 degrees Celsius, humidity standing at 63%, and then of course the weather in Nairobi where we are this morning at 16 degrees Celsius with it's cloudy here and humidity is around 83%, and I think some rain is expected later on at around the same noon. We'll see how that will work out. So, Doctor, that is what we have.
Thank you very much, viewers and the listeners across Africa and the world. Those listening and watching me from The Hague, and those watching me from Khartoum, I want to thank you. First, I want to pay my respect to the government of Republic of Sudan. I want to pay my respect to my friends, the generals, the two of them, especially General Daglo. General Daglo, my friend, when I knew you, you were a Lieutenant Colonel. I want to make sure that you don't fall into an international trap that will bring us to 2 tears more than joy. I know very well, very many people in Sudan would like to make, and the world would like to take a retributive route against President Bashir. Yes, crimes were committed, yes. The Sudanese stood up and went to the streets, demanded the freedom. Bashir surrendered the power. Generals came, swept him out of power. The most important thing today, as we speak, there are so many militias gathering their momentum in Sudan itself. Is it the right time for Sudan, and I'm addressing the Sudanese government directly, especially my friend General Daglo? Remember, the Janjaweed were named as one of the factors that actually brought the chaos in Darfur. It will not be long before the same court that is smiling at you before the same chief prosecutor, Karim Khan, who is smiling at you, living in Carthage Hotel, in rooms 2040 and 2062, occupying the whole floor. It is not going to be long before he turns on you. General Duglo, I'm addressing you as an African. We're almost the same age. We have been together. We know each other from 1990s. I've been a visitor to Khartoum. I have seen so many things across Africa. General Duglo and General Hamed, I just tell you, the same Karim Khan smiling, whom you are welcoming tomorrow, will call yours. You open up a Pandora box by delivering your former head of state instead of putting him on trial. The Sudanese justice system is enough, is good enough to put somebody on trial. Sudan is a country where the cradle of justice began from. Sudan can try its nation. Sudanese can be tried in Khartoum so that the people of Darfur can get better justice, can see the fruits of why justice system is there. Dear generals, my brothers, comrades, the same ICC that you see that faked this case, the same ICC that airlifted witnesses, procured witnesses, like they have done in several African cases, will one day come back for you. You have not destroyed the Janjaweed. It is there. It is the militia mentioned. Who are the commanders? Who are the participants? Think twice before you hand over General Bashir. I have come at this hour to alert you as a brother who has faced International Criminal Court from the first case in Uganda. I therefore speak with authority. I therefore stand with authority. There is nobody out in south of the Sahara who will speak with authority on the question of ICC. There is only one man, and this is the man, Dr. David Masanga. I have opposed them. I will oppose them. I will continue to deny them any chance of taking any African to the Montego Bay of Europe. I will deny them any chance of going out to slaughter Africans, to put them in a keg, as if we have no system in Africa that can try us. A court in Khartoum is better than a court in The Hague. Why do I say so? The court in The Hague has no assessor. The court in The Hague has no interpreter. The interpreters are either coached by the same court. The court in the Hague, the prosecutor is the hunter. The hunted continues to prosecute, to investigate, lays the case in the court, seeks a conviction. That is one person. The court in Khartoum allows the police to investigate, brings the culprit evidence against the suspect. But the court in The Hague allows the chief prosecutor to take over all these functions of justice. The people of Sudan should think twice. Yes, I know there are crimes that were committed. Yes, I know. Many people died. But let's look at Darfur today. When we walked in Darfur, I and the Tabombek, flying in the planes, dropping in Khartoum and going to Darfur. Sitting in Nairobi, in Johannesburg, in Khartoum, in Carthage Hotel, making reports to make Darfur better, to find a long-lasting. I want to take this opportunity to thank President Thabo Mbeki, the African Union envoy on Darfur. I want to thank President, my good friend, Professor Gambari, the head of the political department of the forces that were put there by UNIME, forces that were in Darfur. Professor Gambari, wherever you are, remember what we discussed, what we said. This is the first place in the history of Africa, Professor Gambari, for a country to get freedom. The people of Darfur returned to normality. Darfur itself had returned. There was forgiveness. There was a reconciliation. There was a redemption strategy. The case of Darfur was killed from day one. How was it destroyed from day one? I want my panel to listen to me carefully on this one. When you arrest suspects in all Ocampo's cases on African continent, and I want to speak with authority, because there is nobody who is going to say I am wrong. Look at the case of Pierre Bemba. In the Congo Central African case, Mr. Pierre Bemba was indicted and Mr. Bozize was not indicted. My panel, listeners, viewers across the world, the case of Thomas Lubanga. Mr. Thomas Lubanga was indicted. None of the commanders of the Congolese army were indicted. My viewers, again, the case of Thomas Lubanga should have taken Mr. Kabila, because Mr. Kabila was the final responsible for international law. The baton sticks with the commander-in-chief, who was the commander-in-chief of the Congolese army that was fighting Thomas Lubanga. The case of Ouattara of Babugo, Mr. Ocampo should have taken both Ouattara and Babugo. Mr. Ocampo came and took Babugo and left Ouattara. Mr. Ocampo came, went ahead to indict Babugo's ministers, Babugo's relatives, including the wife. The case of Libya, Mr. Ocampo indicted Muammar Gaddafi, Said Gaddafi, and the children, and they left the commanders, the terrorists. The terrorists who occupy Libya today were left out. Africans don't want to listen. They don't want to know. But these things are going to come there tomorrow. For those who don't want to know, it's your problem. Didn't I tell you Ethiopia will collapse? It's your problem. Didn't I tell you? Most of you were shouting at me. Some of these Kenyans who have never gone to school, some of them, idiots coming to insult me. Some have gone to school. Those who have gone to school, not saying Kenyans have not gone to school. They have gone to school. But some idiots paid 50 shillings to insult the people. They don't listen. The case of Gaddafi, Mr. Ocampo indicted one side, left the other side. Let's come to the case of Kenya. Mr. Ocampo came to Kenya, indicted, balanced the indictments, plucked 3 from the opposition, 3 who are close to the commanders-in-chief. Uhuru Kenyatta was not a commander-in-chief. William Ruto was not a commander-in-chief. These are just people who should not have been indicted in the first place. And I want Karim Khan to tell me, because I'm going to quote all the things that he said. This is the best moment for me to watch my final retirement. It's the best eating cake that I'm going to eat, Tawish, because I'm going to reproduce everything Karim Khan said about the ICC, which is now serving and is going to pick Mr. Bashir. I am going to bring it to the world until there is a ceasefire. Because Karim Khan, I put you on note that I'm going to reveal to the world quite a number of things. And let me see the credibility. The case of Central African Republic, Miriam, the pattern is the same. One side was taken, the other side was not taken. The case, therefore, which is very, very, another case, the first case, was the Ugandan case. One side was taken, not because they did, the other side that was taken did not commit crimes. No. I admit the LRA committed huge crimes, heinous crimes. But equally, LRA was not fighting with water, or the UPDF was not fighting with water. They were fighting with guns. They were killing people. Ocampo came to Uganda, took one side, left one side. Let's go on. The case of Sudan itself, Bashir and the Janjaweed on one side, and the Jema, the Jema that was fighting in the Darfur. In the initial indictments, they never indicted the Jema side. The Jema side was left out. Bashir was taken to the ICC. Bashir and other 3 people were indicted. They later on came about and said, oh, the Jema generals are excused. That's the pattern. There is another case in Africa. And most of these cases in Africa have had these difficulties of indictment. The chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Court by day, Luis Moreno Ocampo, ferried witnesses, was put under pressure by international community NGOs, was paid money. I am not going to leave any stone unturned. I will try to convince the court that money was paid for witnesses to be airlifted to give false testimonies in Cairo, in Jamena, in Djibouti. I followed, I investigated, I know how it worked. I therefore put on notice the International Criminal Court. The chief prosecutor can celebrate in Khartoum. I have given you the two sides of how the handing over Bashir to the International Criminal Court could bring a disaster for the rest of the Sudanese army generals who took part in the Darfur War. Two, I am a member who sat in 1998 in Rome. On that day in July, seated in the hall invited by St. Gideon, having met Pope Paul, who kissed my hand, not the feet. Why today I'm still maybe talking, thank you, Pope Paul is gone, but my hand was kissed by Pope Paul because I was seeking peace. I remember President Kisano very well. All of us were seated there when the ICC and the Kofi Annan lulled us into a trap to have the ICC launched in Rome. One of the things that I did not like, which I told President Kisano, and I believe there was a Kenyan by name Twitterman who was working in the United Nations, Kenya's embassy in New York. Mr. Twitterman became the permanent secretary of foreign affairs in Kenya. He can tell you this man was there. I was in the hall. I asked one question, and still I will ask this question. The ICC court was created for complementarity. Why did the Africans fall victims to a court of complementarity? Today, the problems that are killing Africa across the globe is haunting the leaders. If you are going to haunt the leaders, and you tell President Museveni that if you step down, we shall put you in jail and keg you and take you to the ICC, will President Museveni step down? Tawish, the answer is no. If you are telling Zuma, if Zuma captured power again in South Africa, and I'm telling you, I'm warning the generals in Khartoum, you are now in power today. You can hand over Bashir, but brothers, prepare for your day to be handed over. I don't know whether I'm making some sense here, Miriam. Prepare for your days, General Duglo, to be handed over. General Hamad, my brother Hamad, whom I know very well. General Duglo, you know me. The only thing I've done is I've put on weight. But you remember when you were Lieutenant Colonel, I've been in this conflict before. You are my friend. You also prepare to be handed over when you leave power. Because what you are doing today, you are setting a precedent where you will be taken. Ramaphosa in South Africa, today he's putting Mr. Zuma in jail. Ramaphosa's term of office ends. He's in the second term. Believe me or not, it will not be long before Ramaphosa goes back to that same jail. What are we setting up in Africa? We are setting up a retributive system that our heads of state should be taken away as soon as they step down from power. What do you think the head of state who is currently in office will do? Do you think he will give up power? I want my panel to look at that. Who will give up power? Who? If you are telling President Museveni that you are going to take him to the ICC, will he give up power? President Museveni, we must set an example to give former leaders, the leaders, whether they have committed anything, we should give them their decency. That's the type of politics I practice. Forgiveness. The former leaders, if a leader has stepped down, has accepted, he's gone home, leave him to go home. Where is Egypt today? Where is the president who put Mubarak to jail? Didn't he go to heaven or hell before Mubarak went? Is the panel understanding the politics I'm talking about? The leader of Muslim Brotherhood, what is the name? Tawish, or Wesonga, or Miriam. The president who took over after Mubarak.
Morsi
was sentenced to life imprisonment.
Morsi.
He died. President who?
Morsi.
Morsi. President Morsi of Egypt arrested Mubarak. No sooner had Mubarak stayed in the prison for a few years than he himself found himself in the same prison. His was even once, he was condemned to life, actually to be sentenced to death. He went to see God, the Maker, before Mubarak could see. Mubarak was later on released, isn't it? He was released, his cases were over. So you should take examples. Leaders in Africa must begin to think that whatever you are doing today, handing over Bashir, the same ICC will come back to take you. They will sleep in the same hotel in Khartoum, waiting for you to be put on a plane to take you to the Hague. So do you want your citizens as Africans, while the American president who ordered for the bombing of Libya, who ordered for the bombing of Iraq, who ordered for the bombing of Afghanistan. Today, Miriam, as you look across the board, in Nigeria, President Buhari is slaughtering people. Nobody is talking. In Afghanistan, the government, in fact, the president of Afghanistan is about to take a flight and leave Kandahar, Kabul. Kabul is about to leave Kabul city and is fleeing to some place. But do you hear this, my people of the panel? The Taliban are taking over Musharraf, which is the biggest regional city, next step to come, Kabul. The Americans have run away. They picked their pajamas, their knickers, and disappeared. They left the Afghanistans bleeding. Why do you want to damage your country like Sudan by, at this time, to uproot a man whom you have already found guilty of several offenses that affect the state of Sudan and take him to be charged, yet you will also be charged. The army in Sudan, which I am appealing to directly, as I conclude, I'm appealing directly to the army in Sudan. It is the same army in Sudan that was fighting together with Bashir. My friend General Duglo, listen to me. You are the head of the Janjaweed militia that fought in Darfur. Mr. Karim Khan should not convince you to hand over your own general, who was your commander-in-chief. Because tomorrow they will come for you. General Hamad, because of the civil society of George Soros, funded by George Soros, equipped by George Soros, Bashir's case was a case full of corruption, where Mr. Ocampo received millions and millions of United States dollars, whose original documents we have. Somebody came and said, I falsified the documents. But I waited for the ICC to say, call me as a whistleblower under the act of the statute of Rome. I am the whistleblower who told the ICC that Ocampo took $17 million from the Jewish organizations to charge Bashir. Ocampo's personal assistant was Fernandez. Silvia Fernandez, who became the presiding judge, later on promoted, who had a lot of money on her account. She couldn't account for. You can take the documents and call them, but you cannot take the hard disks. Before I came out with this evidence, I'd already collected the hard disks. We wanted to play. We want to tell the truth. Was Ocampo? Didn't Ocampo? Hasn't Ocampo admitted that he bribed, he got money and he was betting, gambling the money? Ocampo has told us he's a gambler. He was paid to come to arrest people in Africa. Have we looked at the credibility of the former chief prosecutors? Who were they? My sister, Fatou Bensouda. I am not going to talk about her because she was under the shadow of a mafia gang organized, arranged by George Soros, manipulated, equipped, supplied by George Soros to indict Africans. So I will not attack Fatou Bensouda. I will excuse her because she's a lady who deserves a bit of excuse. She later on realized these cases were not going anywhere. Look at most of the cases of Africa then, as I conclude. Look at the cases of ICC, as I conclude. Which case has gone through? The case of Thomas Lubanga. Out of 56 witnesses, no, 526 witnesses, Miriam, only 15 were found credible. The rest were telling lies. The judges, go and read the judgments of these cases. And the court found Lubanga just, not almost guilty. Sentenced him to 14 years, and he had already done like 10 years. Mr. Thomas Lubanga is already out of jail. Babugo, the case, the prosecutor found out that Babugo had no case to answer. This case of Bashir will be the same. Because witnesses were faked. Witnesses were procurement. Okugula, kununua. They bought witnesses. They come and give you dollars and a passport and the nationality and tell you that go and tell lies about Bashir. In Jamena. And remember the man in Jamena was Idris. Mr. Idris and Mr. Bashir, they never liked each other. If you talk of people, a double standard, why haven't we taken Mr. Idris? Or why didn't we indict Mr. Idris for supporting the full Jema rebels, for arming them? The late Idris Dabi was arming the Jema rebels to kill the Furians and to kill Sudanese. Why haven't we indicted him? My panel, I don't want to give a lot of ammunition. Tomorrow or Monday, I will seek intelligence with the same court that I know very well. I will seek to ask the chief prosecutor to investigate the claims as a whistleblower that I put forward, that over $17 million or so or more were paid by American NGOs to fix Mr. Bashir. I blew up that information, I whistleblowed them, delivered them to the court. All what the court came up is to say I was not right, but they never called me. Miriam, surprisingly, they have never called me. Can you see that? They went ahead to erase every document. Nobody wanted to touch the case until the judge, the presiding judge, whom I accused, called me Madame Gumedi, Sylvia Gumedi, Fernandez Gumedi, left the court. Have you seen that? All the people who handled this case resigned. The independent oversight mechanism resigned. The chief registrar resigned. Can you tell me why? And then they erased the documents from the main headline. Yet they even communicated to me in black and white. Can we begin the subject? Yes. You know, God has spared me to fight for this freedom. I therefore, Miriam, submit.
Right, Doctor, thank you so much. And in case you're wondering what Doctor is talking about, Sudan will hand over to the International Criminal Court several of its former leaders, including deposed former leader Omar al-Bashir, wanted for crimes against humanity and war crimes during the conflict in Darfur, the country's foreign minister said on Wednesday. According to the official SUNA agency, the decision was arrived at after a consultative meeting between the Office of the Foreign Ministry and the new chief prosecutor of the Hague-based court, Karim Khan, who was visiting Khartoum. And also indicted by the court are two other senior figures from al-Bashir's rule: Abdel Rahim Mohammed Hussein, Interior and Defense Minister during much of the conflict, and Ahmed Harun, a senior security chief at the time and later the leader of al-Bashir's ruling party. The court also indicted rebel leader Abdullah Banda, whose whereabouts are unknown, and Janjaweed leader Ali Kushaib, who was charged in May with crimes against humanity and war crimes. He has already been charged and he is at the ICC. Bashir, who ruled Sudan for 3 decades, being disposed in 2019, faces charges of genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. And of course, Doctor has helped us understand the background story and what has transpired over the years. Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, what are your comments in regards to this story?
Oh, thank you, Miriam, Dr. Masanga, for your in-depth analysis. Firstly, let me say this. I think last night we discussed how leaders generally make reckless decisions. We were focusing on Africa, and if we go outside, you can now see how the new prosecutor is beginning on a shaky ground. Allow me, Miriam, as much as I don't like so much the president of Uganda, Yoweri Museveni, there was one time he intrigued me with a statement, and this is what he said, if I can remember. The rat that doesn't like digging, it is on hole, but loves using holes abandoned by other rats, will one day encounter a venomous viper inside. Having said that, Miriam, the chief prosecutor, because now the way I've seen the Sudan issue, there is from Darfur, we are not saying there were no issues or genocide, but issues were stabilizing down, and Khan trying to arrest the former president of Sudan is creating a new conflict or instability in that country. In fact, Miriam, where I come from, we say, if somebody disturbs water upstream and the women surround the river to wait it to settle down so that they take the clean one, it could be very disturbing to disturb the same spot where the earlier one who dirtified the water. What am I saying here? As Dr. Masanga said, they are trying to renew a wound which had already healed. There is the best way of handling the former president of Sudan, because as much as he left power, he has his own supporters. Not know the interest of in the wrong direction. And the Khan specifically is moving on the wrong direction, because the disadvantage of moving in the wrong direction is that if you increase the speed, the more you are lost. I think the International Criminal Court is losing this one. What I can summarize with this kind of approach, focusing on the analysis Dr. Masanga's made on different biases of handling indicted others are vindicated, can simply crystallize on one word: absolute bias with clear interest attached to African conflict cases. We are not saying a problem was not there, but interest now come to create ambiguity in the whole scenario, because the Western world, including America, they know in ambiguity lies the greatest opportunity. And this is the idea behind it. The area we recognize this kind of thinking, the better for Africa. For now, Miriam, I think that's my perspective. And I submit, therefore.
Very well. Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama. Now, the Darfur conflict broke out when rebels from the territory's ethnic Central and Sub-Saharan African community launched an insurgency in 2003, complaining of oppression by the Arab-dominated government in Khartoum. And in 2000, al-Bashir's government responded with a campaign of aerial bombings and raids by militias known as Janjaweed, who stands accused of mass killings and rapes. Up to 300,000 people were killed and 2.7 were displaced from their homes. And in 2009, the ICC's chief prosecutor then first issued arrest warrant for Bashir on charges of genocide and war crimes related to Darfur. The court issued another arrest warrant in 2010, but in 2014 had to suspend the case because of lack of support from the United Nations Security Council. So it has had its own life there. Douglas Kirimi.
Thank you, Miriam, for having me on the show today, and also to my co-panelist and Dr. David Masanga. Very good morning to all of us, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone that is watching. Miriam, when we look at the issues that are surrounding the issue in Sudan today, these are issues that could have been resolved in their own country, and they could have been able to bring justice to the victims and also serve closure to the man himself, the former president, Omar al-Bashir. But at the end of the day, what we are having today are issues that can be able to be handled using a local tribunal or their local courts, or having to face trial using their own law, because the rule of law had to be applied on everyone in South Sudan, not South Sudan, in the Raja Sudan. And at the end of the day, why would a former president not face trial in their own country if their interests or their groupings and other victims of the same rule that was permitted by the same president? We should have had an opportunity to be able to prosecute these cases, this case locally, and have him jailed in Sudan. Because, Miriam, at the end of the day, taking the old man to ICC is not a solution to their own structural problems, because I term them as structural problems that have been able to be, crimes have been committed against various groups in Sudan. But at the end of the day, their problems remain structural, Miriam, because at the end of the day, we cannot come to a conclusive end and tell the world that it is al-Bashir that is culpable of all those problems. Those problems and crimes that have been committed against various groups in Sudan, these are the same problems that have been also committed by other government agencies that have aided al-Bashir. Al-Bashir did not commit these crimes himself. And these groupings, groups and the various interests that are complaining today or are victims of his misrule and also mistreatment are not primarily to be placed on the door of al-Bashir. There are people who aided him, and there are other government agencies, and there are so many factors that are involved, Miriam, but that does not warrant him being taken to international. They can be able to deal with their issues internally and be able to work on them. And at the end of the day, Miriam, find solutions to their own problems. Rushing to the zone for those years he has been arrested, Miriam, is not a solution to the problems that are going to crop up in future, because we cannot prevent another kind of Omar al-Bashir in Sudan. We cannot prevent another kind of that sort of a problem. in South Sudan, in Sudan, and Miriam. But at the end of the day, we should be able to have a local problem for these problems that have engulfed these people and this country. Miriam, I submit.
Very well, thank you. Douglas Kirimi, and of course Bashir was the first sitting head of state to be wanted by the ICC and the first person to be charged by the ICC for the crime of genocide, and that is according to the ICC's website. Samuel Tawish, I know this is a story that we've been following, and also Doctor has brought up an important issue on the generals who I know the ICC will be coming for very, very soon, especially the second in command in the military side, that is Daglo, or famously known as Hemeti, who is in charge of, now it's called the Sudan Rapid Force, but it is the Janjaweed. And he was the one who was heading. He still heads, that unit right now, and he was the one who was still heading at that time. And so there has been some problem, and he's part of the transition, team. Remember, Sudan right now is under transition government for 3 years. I think since 2019 August. So I think sometimes back next year or thereabout, they might have their first election. And so these people are part of the transition team. They're part of the transition government right now, and some of them might be wanted by the ICC very, very soon from what we know perhaps their role were during that period. So what will this mean for the peace process for a country that is trying to stabilize right now, and the transitional process as a whole, and Sudan as a country in itself?
Thank you so much. Thank you, Miriam Ogutu, and of course colleague panelist, particularly Dr. Masanga, of course, for the opening remarks in as far as this ICC Hulabalu is concerned. Miriam, I believe this is not the first time we are handling the Sudan case. This is not the first time we are talking about ICC and what appears to be open bias towards the African nation and the nations and the leaderships. Miriam, like Dr. Nyanchama has said, indeed, Karim Khan, the ICC chief prosecutor, has begun on a wrong footing. A wrong footing in the sense that they are creating an impression that the whole ICC, or this International Criminal Court at The Hague, was particularly created really to target the African state and African leaders only, and not any other nation or not any other continent for that matter. Today, when you read news, Miriam, when you watch news, when you listen to radios, when you read newspapers, I mean, this is not the only continent that atrocities or genocide continue to happen. But how come that the International Criminal Court or even the international community are so quick really to make interventions into the African affairs matters without allowing them the opportunity really to be able to deal with them through the local mechanisms? And I think if you listen to Dr. Masanga's submission, he did mention why ICC was created in the first place. It was for complementarity purposes. In situations where they could help nations to actually prosecute individuals who have committed international crimes, or even those nations that are unable to do this. You'll allow me, Miriam, really to delve a bit into it. Is there any demonstration to the effect that Sudan, as we speak today, is unable really to prosecute individuals who are suspected to have committed crimes during those particular times that have been mentioned, say 2003 or even say 1989, when al-Bashir came into power? This is a person who has been a president of that particular country for a record 3 decades. Is a person who has already created more like an ideology in that particular region. His following is more like is a cult like in Sudan today. There are people who identify with Bashir, and they support him fully. So if you cannot engage on what appears to be, on what will be a restorative approach towards getting justice, but you want a retributive, that there has to be a side to lose and one to win, then by the end of the day, you will not be winning. It will only but losing, and every side will be losing, and they will not have a country in the name of Sudan as we speak. It is therefore incumbent upon the leadership that we have today, the civilian military, of course, set up administration to oversee the transition in Sudan, to make sure that they do not forget that this is something that is bound to happen to anyone, including them. Dr. Masanga himself has given highlights of some of the people really who are even in this transition administration who are part of the al-Bashir's government. So if they are going to be part and parcel of a cabal that is going to be used by the International Criminal Court really to hand over Omar al-Bashir and others,
really to the ICC. Dr. Masanga has said the hour of reckoning is coming for them as well. This is something that can happen to anyone, to any leader. You have seen what is happening, for example, in South Africa as we speak today, how Cyril Ramaphosa removed Jacob Zuma, and how Jacob Zuma removed the other leader who was in power. Was it Thabo Mbeki before he came into power? I mean, this is more of like a vicious cycle, and it's bound to happen to any leader. So today, while you're in power, do not forget that there's a day you'll also want such kind of mercies. You'll want such kind of course, favors. And if it's about a matter of pursuing justice, Miriam, there are other avenues we can pursue justice without necessarily appearing retributive, as is the case in Sudan today, Miriam. We all agree, like what Dr. Nyanchama has said, indeed atrocities were committed. There was genocide indeed. People were killed in numbers. Most of them were equally displaced. I mean, these are not things that we glorify, rather we are not cheering. But again, if there can be a way on how we can have an approach of a restorative, a way that we can bring all people together, a way of healing. Dr. Nyanjama has said the wound had already healed. But why is it that we are trying to open these wounds again? Do we then want to find a long-lasting solution to the politically instigated troubles that Sudan has been over time? Or do we want to find really, do we want to use this kind of particular case to achieve political ends, Miriam? I do not think that this is the right way to address this matter. Sudan has the capacity, I believe so, like Dr. Masanga, who has, of course, so much information and knowledge about Sudan itself. It has the very nice infrastructures and structures in terms of the courts, the justice system, the investigative arms of government, who are able to carry out investigations as regards to this matter, and not necessarily allowing our people really to be bundled into airplanes and taken to the foreign lands to be tried and convicted and jailed over there. These are things we do not want to happen to any of our African people. I think it is time we need to go back to the drawing board and think what anew we can do other than just pursuing these matters outside our countries. Miriam, for now, I submit.
All right. Very well. And of course, al-Bashir was ousted in a military coup in 2019 following a lengthy popular uprising. And in December 2019, he was sentenced to 2 years in a correctional facility after being found guilty of corruption and illegitimate possession of foreign currency. And we've seen how that has been playing out and the court sessions he's been having there inside a cage, which I think is an ultimate, it's just humiliation for a former head of state. But you brought up the issue, and also Doctor mentioned it, about the complementary, Doc is the one who said it, the ICC was supposed to complement the judicial systems in countries. But in this regard, the ICC did not forcefully go into Sudan and get Omar al-Bashir. They've issued, warrant of arrest, and just a statement from Sudan's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it said, the Council of Ministers have decided to hand over the wanted persons to the International Criminal Court. So does that say they do not trust their judicial system to try, Omar al-Bashir over these cases to the end, and that's why they're handing him over? As much as we want to say Sudan is capable of doing this, Daniel Esonga, what do you think is happening? Why did they hand him over and not try him at home?
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam Obutu. And of course, Dr. Matsanga, David, and other panelists have really put it quite clear in black and white. And whatever the leadership in Khartoum right now is doing is something that might come back to haunt them in future. And they should know that they agreed to consolidate power at the cost of a man who served the country for decades, not considering that they could maybe have a local mechanism of solving their problem. Will be their greatest undoing. Today, Libya is in chaos because people were not quite clear when it came to thinking of a way of dealing with the internal problems. And they thought that Muammar Gaddafi was the problem that was facing Libya. And today, so many years after Gaddafi is no longer in this world, Libya is still facing a lot of political turbulence. And that is the same fate that could await the people of Sudan. So let them not think that by being out of power and therefore being guided by their greed to consolidate power after Bashir, they can easily hand over former President Omar Bashir to the Hague-based court, and therefore their problems will be over. That will not be the end of the problems. They should also learn and take cue from whatever happened in the Ivory Coast and after Bagbo was handed over to the ICC. It is only after Bagbo came back and they were able to have a handshake just recently that at least we started seeing some light at the end of the tunnel for the people of Ivory Coast. So therefore, as the panelists have said, and even as Darwish has mentioned, is that for a leader who has been in office for longer periods of time like Omar al-Bashir, they should understand that that is a leader who has supporters in Sudan, and therefore the only way to solve these particular problems that they have as a people is actually using the local mechanism. And this could be done through a way of local tribunals. And you put it right, Miriam, and Dr. Masanga mentioned it. Let them, the ICC work hand in hand with the local justice system so that they can be able to bring all the culprits who perpetrated all these crimes against the people of Sudan locally. But bundling people into planes and taking them to The Hague will not solve anything. Further, it will actually take apart the supporters of Bashir against the supporters of the current regime, and that will divide the country more. So that will not solve the problem. Even if Bashir is going to serve 50 years at the Hague-based court, it will not bring unity and reconciliation in Sudan. The only unity and reconciliation will come if they have local mechanism of solving their problems. We've seen that happening in countries like Gambia, where Yahya Jammeh had actually a lot of atrocities on his name. And what they did, they brought about a Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission, where perpetrators were brought to book. They were charged. Those ones who were found culpable were taken in, and those ones whose crimes were not strong enough to implicate them were actually taken through a process of rehabilitation, and people were able to shake hands, people were able to reconcile, and the country is moving forward together, united. So I think that should be the same remedy to be taken with the Sudanese people. So let them know, as I conclude, Miriam, that taking the former President Omar al-Bashir to The Hague will not help the government of the day to solve their problems. And also they should consider the health and the years that the former president is in. Omar al-Bashir is an old man right now. So bundling him and taking him back to The Hague, it might not serve the purpose of their ill motives. Let them solve their matters amicably. Let them have a local tribunal. Let them use the justice system that is there in Sudan to solve these particular problems. And after all, they are the people in government. So they might not, maybe, they might say that it is not possible, but in any particular case, Miriam, their justice system is going to favor them because they are the people who are running the regime. Mm-hmm. So let them explore that before they can think about going to the ICC. ICC has never helped any African country, even the Ivory Coast people. If you ask them, ICC never helped them. It is upon their it is the leaders who came together, had a handshake, and therefore resorted to addressing their problems locally. So they will waste these years going to the ICC, but ultimately the solution to their problems rests within the criminal justice system of the Sudanese government. I submit.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Daniel Songana, on Wednesday, ICC prosecutor Karim Khan said that he is mandated as an ICC official and in accordance with his mandate from the United Nations Security Council to conduct independent investigations into what happened in Bashir. So I suppose he'll be starting investigations there so that he can establish his case. And as I had already told you there earlier, former Janjaweed leader Ali Kushaib was charged in May with crimes against humanity and war crimes. So he's already serving his term there at the ICC. Doctor, what do you think, judging from that, will be the fate of Omar al-Bashir at the ICC?
Thank you very much, Miriam. Viewers, those watching us across the globe, the panel has touched on a number of things. From Daniel Wesonga, Miriam, you have asked very pertinent questions. Dr. Nyachama summarized it very well. He said, yesterday we are looking at South Africa. Mr. Ramaphosa is looking up Mr. Zuma. But Mr. Zuma locked out Thabo Mbeki. Mr. Ramaphosa could be tomorrow a guest of the same cells that Zuma is going through. I totally disagree, and I want in my summary and make it very clear to the world. I disagree with retributive justice that sends the country back to a war footing, like the way the militias are arranging themselves to fight in Khartoum for the survival of Sudan. On Friday, Miriam, while you and I were conducting the Pan-African Forum Conference, a lady who took part in the demonstrations, Dr. Hamida from Khartoum, you remember her? She told us, she told the international conference, what by millions of people. The conference that we conducted on Friday, last Friday, was a successful conference. Several countries in Africa, Miriam, are giving us invitation, you and I, to fly in to conduct such conferences in their capitals. The lady told us that there are militias forming in Sudan. Now, for Mr. Khan to come in now and ask for Bashir is a tragedy. For Mr. Khan to start with Africa is a tragedy. Why doesn't Mr. Khan start with the Philippines? Why doesn't he fly to Manila? Why Africa? Why Africa? That is the only question I want to ask for Karim Khan. Why us? Because of our black color. Why? Why can't Mr. Khan fly to Manila in the Philippines and tell the president of Manila, I have come here to arrest you?
Duterte will chase him away.
Not be crushed with a hammer. Why should Karim Khan play in the hands of NGOs, George Soros, that he opposed? That's where the challenge is now, Miriam. Have you seen where I'm coming in?
On Myanmar, Doctor, atrocities are happening there.
Myanmar. Myanmar is burning. Nigeria itself is burning. Why is Karim Khan not indicting Mohammed? Mr. What is this tall man of Nigeria president called who? Buhari. Buhari is killing people, slaughtering people. The Fulanis are killing people. Let me ask another question. Why is Karim Khan not issuing a warrant of arrest for the leader of Al-Shabaab? He knows where they are. ICC knows where they are. They operate in Asmara. They kill us, then run through Somalia and enter Eritrea. Why can't they issue warrants? Why are they going to destabilize the situation? It's a transitional government. Generals Ahmad and General Dugul are going. Believe me, my brothers, if you are watching in Khartoum, you will be the next on the plane to the ICC. You are now surrendering your general, the one who brought you in the army. You are now surrendering him, but you are going to follow him very soon once you are out of power. You have been put under pressure by NGOs, a government of NGOs. a government formed by NGOs, funded by NGOs. The Prime Minister is George Soros. Therefore, he has to do what George Soros wants. And he is handing over, destabilizing the area. Militias are collecting in Khartoum. The lady from Khartoum, who is a university lecturer with a PhD, not a street, one of those who took part in the demonstrations that toppled Bashir, says we are in trouble, in danger. Is it the right time to hand over? My answer is no. Is it the right case to be tried? My answer is no. Has Darfur returned to peace? My answer is yes. Has Darfur reconciled? The answer is yes. Therefore, let's look at the places where Songa brought a very good point. Let's look at the case scenarios where ICC has been used to score marks. Liberia, International Court on Liberia, Tribunal on Liberia. Has the peace returned in Liberia? Is Taylor not finishing his sentence soon? Mm-hmm. Have you seen how the president of Liberia, the former footballer, is even a thief?
And you know, Charles Taylor's wife is the vice president of Liberia.
Aha! Mm-hmm. The people are saying, what is this that we have? Now, Taylor's wife is the president.
Vice.
Is the vice. In case the footballer, God forbid, something happens to him, he will become the president of Liberia. Taylor is serving, his sentence is about to be over within the next 10 years. Is Liberia better off? The answer is no. DRC case, Bemba Thomas Rubanga. Is DRC Congo, as a result of arresting the two, better off? Has it resolved the conflict? Miriam, the answer is no. These are new things that I want to bring to the court. As an amicus curiae, I am entitled. I want the judges who don't know even African history. They just read the statements to know whether arresting Mr. Khan, taking Mr. Bashir will solve the problem of Sudan. DRC Congo remains a fragile state. A new rebellion is growing up in almost every province of Democratic Republic of Congo. Has the ICC solved the problem there? The answer is no. Miriam, let's go on Ivory Coast. Ouattara celebrated. Last week, Ouattara had to shake hands with Babougo after Babougo has suffered. And suffered for nothing. They found no criminality, no case, that he never directed anyone to go and kill anyone. But they just wanted to punish Babougo. Haven't they come back to be friends? They are all from Ivory Coast.
And he's forming a new party now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that.
He'll probably run
Has
again.
ICC solved the problem of Ivory Coast? No. It was a short term. Ouattara had to extend his term limit and the age limit in order to rule. because things were going out of hand. Who is going to help Qatar now stabilize the Ivory Coast? Is Bamako. So, what is the use of ICC? I want to sound to my African brothers. Quit. Quit before you are caught in there. Quit. Kenya, quit. President Uhuru Kenyatta, listen to me. Start the quitting process now. Leave the ICC. It is going to come back for you people. The only place where we decided not to be involved. And I want to loud again, and I want to be on record again, to loud my man, my president, across the bridge, where Miriam says across the bridge, there is sorrow or no sorrow. I don't know how the song goes. Across the bridge, a lot of sorrow. There is no sorrow. President Museveni stood up and said, no, enough is enough. Ugandans have been fighting for 23 years. And he accepted for the first time a peace, well-organized international peace process to stop the fighting. ICC saw us doing that. It brought warrants of arrest for 5 commanders. We Ugandans refused. And listen to me carefully. I want to give a credit to President Museveni. I give a credit where it is due. If he has difficulties with his own problem, he has now told the Kenyans that whoever is talking about 15 billion, he doesn't need it. He has his money. So Ruto has to explain. Mr. Ruto, you thought you were doing.
We apologize. Seems to have suffered a bit of a technical hitch, but Doc, you're back. Continue.
Are we there?
Yes, you're back.
He has said, His Excellency President Museveni said yesterday that he doesn't need Uganda money, Kenya money. He has his retro money. In a nutshell, for me, who knows President Museveni anthropology?
Anthropology.
Yes, get the word. The study of anthropology. The way he talks, the way he eats, the way he answers questions. That is anthropology. Hey, let me just give just a good advice to my brother. My brother, Dr. William Ruto, please. His Excellency is not happy. I'm telling you, the wish. Me, anthropological study, the study of anthropology, the traits, anthropological traits, yes. That's the word I was looking for. Miriam did not want to help. My dear, I know His Excellency very well. When he speaks like that, he's not happy. When he says that I don't like I have my small money, I don't depend on Kenya's 15 billion. It means he has now got the true story. Someone, as if, you know, one of the things that you should understand about President Museveni is there are 2 things you should never do. And let me tell Ruto to hear me. You don't belittle him and create a shame to that country called Uganda. And then you go back there and open your white teeth. There are people who have yellow teeth, yes. Is there a problem? Haven't you seen yellow teeth in Kenya? Ruto's teeth is very white, like this. Mine is a bit mixture. Go there. I'm just telling you the truth. If those who don't want to hear, go. He has now got the true story. I swear. He has got the true story. You are trying to bring the country into sanctions on international radar system. Go back there. Didn't you hear President Museveni say the runners got gold medals? But then they went with very bad hair. To be honest, were you not, Jawish, any of you on the panel who was hearing what President Museveni was saying? Exactly that. Museveni does not like the hair like that one of Miriam.
This is my natural hair. What are you saying?
Yes, cut it. Either like that, natural, good hair.
This is...
But not the runners, the girls who got there. You know what? He told them off in front of them. You went there running with bad hair. He gave them 5 million per month and a car after telling them. So if I were Ruto, I should learn anthropology. That when President Museveni says, I know him for over 42 years, since 1978. How many years are those? I first saw him in Nairo Marshall as a vice chairman of the military commission. I know when he says go here, he's a man who doesn't want you to spend money on alcohol or anything extravagant. He's like Isaiah Zefaki of Eritrea. Mm-hmm. I worked with Zefaki in London, in Highbury, Islington. Whenever you come back, you have drunk one glass of wine. He wanted to kill us. In the fact that the office becomes a war zone. He tells us with the now to get out or go in the go and talk from outside, you are smelling. Then we said, what are we smelling? The body or what? And I used to do it, and maybe this, the body. He says, no, it's alcohol. That is the president of Eritrea now. He's exactly like His Excellency, my president. When he tells you, you see, he told those runners, when you are giving me a car, then you have told me your hair was the one who had created the problem. If they went there, and he said it in front of the wife, he said, I wish you went with the hair. That looks like a Madame Janet. She's here. The President Museveni is like a Matsaki. Me, I also don't like women with wig and the hair, that one, long ones. I want to tell you the disclaimer, very serious, honest. I like that hair of Miriam. That's very good, natural. Yeah, I have to tell you the truth. I like one of the qualities that you had when you came for the interview was the hair. It was long, free African hair. But if you come here loaded with those things, what are you hiding inside? There could be a bomb. You know, just be free. Tawish, it could be a bomb inside. Nowadays, the women, look here, Miriam. Nowadays, the women come with cameras hidden in deep. And then you have, I am now warning, there's one bachelor left here, Douglas. Because Songa is gone, or Sisina is gone, Joseph, we are editors, Douglas. When they open bars this weekend, and you get people, oh, this, that, check the hair, take the hair off. You find the equipment there, inside, wanting to see what you do. So, Miriam, anthropologically, me, I know my president. But my president did one good thing to conclude this subject. He allowed a peace process. Uganda today is very peaceful. I want all those watching this show, thank you very much, Your Excellency President Museveni, for having accepted. I know I'm saying this against Douglas Kirimi's displeasure, but it's all right. For once, you give a man a credit where it is due. He did not allow ICC to come and divide Uganda further. He accepted peace. Those who refuse to sign documents, to sign peace, like a coin and other commanders, they will face the international law. They are no longer on the Ugandan territory. My assignment was not to look for people outside Southern Sudan borders and the Ugandan borders. Mine was to look for people inside South Sudan borders and bring them to table. They sign agreement and they sign the 5 agreements that have helped to develop Northern Uganda. Peace. And if you ask me the answer, where restorative justice has worked better on the continent of Africa, the answer is Uganda. Uganda. Forget it. Honestly, the other bit which is there of Mr. Musician, this man and so on, that's understandable, politics, because I'm not party to it. Me, I've resigned from the politics of Uganda. I know Kirimi might not like this, but I resigned, I left from 2008, Miriam. I left the politics of Uganda. I don't want to hear. I only want to hear something. Uganda. If I see Uganda coming under sanctions, I will fight them. If I see you taking any leader from Uganda to ICC, again, I will fight you. Because I hate ICC. But the politics of Uganda cut me off. Cut me off. I'm not there. I've left for my children, 10 of them, I have 8 of them. One of them can take up the mantle and become any of the positions in Uganda. But not for me. I've remained with the platform of having eaten matoke in Uganda to grow. That blood of matoke is inside here. Bado iko. But I am not involved in their politics. And I don't want to hear. But I only tell caution because I know how President Museveni makes his jokes. And you might think he's making a joke. You analyze that statement, Miriam, I've put it on my Facebook. I don't rely on the Kenya's 15 billion. He's already upset. Not so. He's upset somebody has said He borrowed money for the man. He was taken to a factory where there is controversy over the money. Eh? Have you seen the problem that you have caused? He's not Maindugu Ruto. Go slow. I don't want to say anything much here. But I know my president, he doesn't want Uganda to be belittled. That's why he told these girls, the other one of Uganda and one Miss was number 3 in the world, isn't it? Miss Tourism, was it number 1 or 3? Number 1. And he had the same hair. His Excellency said, why didn't you cut off the hair? You could have looked very beautiful. These runners came to collect their cars, laughing, opening their... We told them this hair, you could have run faster if this hair was not on. So, the ICC divides Africa. The ICC targets Africa. Mr. Karim Khan should try to solve the Palestinian and the Israel case, isn't it? Try on that one. And see how long you will stay in that office in Geneva, in Vienna, in Hague. People are just respecting Mr. Khan because he is a British national. Isn't it? But if he indicts one Israeli, why do you run for all defense? Cause more chaos in a stable, a transitional government. Miriam, I beg to submit, and I want to thank all of you as I hand it back the baton to you to say one or two things. I want to tell you that the journey to defend and to show the mastery begins on Monday. I will submit my papers to the chambers protesting, and I will give copies to the generals before the arrangement. I will protest. I've already called President Thabo Mbeki. Just give me 1 minute, Miriam. Give me 1 minute. Mm-hmm. I want to show you how we were struggling with Mbeki. For those people out there, look at that struggle. This is me and Mbeki. I don't know whether you are seeing me.
Raise it a bit up.
Like this?
Up.
Like that?
Yes, that's much better.
This is me and Mbeki when we are doing the Darfur peace process some 10 years ago. We struggled, we traveled, we went almost everywhere. We ate no food at times. But we wanted peace to return to Darfur. Why would you destroy Darfur today again? Why would you raise the ghosts of Darfur? Miriam, I think you can see I was very handsome there. Tawish, what do you call it? I was slim, tall man. What do you think, Tawish? Mr. Tawish or Kirimi? Kirimi.
No comment.
Yes. No what?
No
I am just,
comment.
nobody is comment. Tawish, why are you not commenting?
It's probably not there.
Mr. Tawish.
But I'm sure Daniel wants to say something.
Daniel, can you say something? Before I come to Mr. Nyachama, at least a great word of thanks.
Yes, Dr. Masaga. And of course, those ones who are watching should know that that was way back in the day. So these things, you haven't just started talking about them today. You have been there in the picture before and even today.
Okay.
Joseph Nyachama.
A picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yes, thank you very much. This man here is the lawyer. Sorry, Miriam, to take a few minutes of yours.
No, it's okay.
You see this picture here? That man, do you see him somewhere in ISIS? Have you seen him somewhere with Songa? He's the lawyer for Dominic Owen. He was on my delegation. That is Mr. Ayena, Chris Ayena.
Okay.
The lawyer for Dominic Owen. Have you seen how far I've come from 2005, doing a peace process, standing against ICC on the Ugandan first case? So this all shows you.
Wow.
How I'm attacked. This lawyer here. I wanted to take on Onweni's case myself and win it. Because Onweni's case is a case of a man abducted and told to kill. Go and kill. If you don't kill, you come back without killing, we shall kill you. Is that not the lawyer here? Look at the lawyer on the den and this one. This is Masanga. These are all my products. So all of you who are here, you have a hand. When you touch my hand, you will go very far. Starting from Miriam, very far. Of course, Joseph Nyachama is an elder. But as we go towards, we are not going to stop here. There is nothing that I touch hands on that fails. You watch this step I've started today against Karim Khan. The world is coming to my rescue, and the world will say I was right. Hey, you can't destabilize South. You can't. You have a war in Tigray. You have a war Egypt wants to bomb. A dam. You can't destabilize South. You can't. I am gonna win. You wait and see the machinery out there that will stand with me. Where? Voltage. Wait and see. Wait and see. Be proud of your father here. I'm gonna win. I am gonna stand against Karim on this taking Bashir is a disaster. Karim should start by taking one president of Philippines or Myanmar. Myanmar is killing people. The refugees who are dying, Rohingya refugees. Why doesn't Karim arrest one of those? Why is he coming to Africa? The war begins today. I don't lose battles. And tell Bashir, tell Muhammad Buhari I'm coming for. Thank you. Thank you, Africa. Back to you, Miriam. God bless you all. God bless you all. I thank you very much. Those who have ears hear. Those who don't have ears, continue hiring planes to go to Uganda. Thank you.
All right, Doc, thank you so much. And I think that is where we will end the show this afternoon, 4 minutes past noon here in Nairobi. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Dr. David Matsanga, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, Samuel Tawish, Douglas Kirimi, and Daniel Wesonga. I'll see you here later at 3 p.m. with the latest from the continent of Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.